What do you think? Bonnie and Clyde style?
Bonnie and Clyde, why? Because we're sitting
like
in a
Bonnie
car.
and Clyde, come on, let's take on the bags.
Okay, guys.
Hey, everybody.
So we're here at T3 in Florida, and we're actually we have a lunch break right now, and we're pressed for time as usual at T3's during our off time. So we've decided to do a little bit of Q&A Saturday.
Because we got to come with it.
Yeah, we got to come with it. So we know this isn't our normal setup, and we're sorry about that, but we are excited to at least be doing this at all.
We will find some way to make this interesting.
Yes.
Now.
And the most
informative, interesting, yes.
The most interesting part about this at all is that Sean hasn't even seen the questions yet. So this is kind of a fun thing. This is actually how we can market it, is that you haven't seen the questions yet. So like this is Sean off the cuff. Off the cuff Sean.
All right.
And I've got a selfie stick and I know how to use it. Okay.
I love it.
So, we're just gonna get started. You want to introduce us, and then we'll just roll?
Oh God, here we go. Ready?
Yes.
So I got a little bit of
pizza. You told me to order you a salad.
I know.
Like I'm gonna get a chicken salad, and I got you like extra chicken salad.
I'm gonna eat that in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't you fret.
Okay.
My
just
pet.
making sure.
Anyways, hey everybody. Am I looking over here, right?
Yes.
Hey everybody, Sean from The Good Dog, and this to my right, holding the selfie stick in the Bonnie and Clyde getaway vehicle, is the lovely Laura Morgan.
Yes.
And all of this, well, some of all this, is The Good Dog's Q&A Saturday episode number, I think we're 68.
68, yes.
Right? So
and also it's raining, by the way, so if you hear anything. Oh, I can't do it because the selfie stick. So 5,
I'll give you
6.
an extra finger.
Okay, thanks.
68, guys. How we doing out there? Guys, everybody's digging the 1 hour format.
Yeah.
Everybody's totally into it.
This is going to be even less than 1 hour.
Well, maybe they'll dig it even more. So what we'll find is that the shorter we get, the more they like us, right?
Yeah.
Until we're like a 30-second program. They're like, we really love you guys.
You guys are great.
And so we're here in, was it Ellenton?
Ellenton, Florida.
Ellenton, Florida. T3, doing T3 launch. Got a lot of awesome trainers flown in from all over the place, teaching them all sorts of good stuff, personal development, business, dog training, what have you, the whole deal. Got a little rain, but we got a cool setup with a barn, and some really cool peeps have shown up. We've got Jeffrey Gelman here. Tori Smith has shown up.
Yep.
And so we're just rock and rolling, having a good time, and we're going to jump in, and we're going to just fly by the seat of our pants here and see what the seat of our pants come up with.
Yeah.
You ready to hit me with your best shot?
Hit me with your best shot.
Anything we need besides the Pat Benatar stuff? Anything else that we need to share?
No, I don't think so. I mean, really, this has to be kind of a speed because we're knocking this out. I might add some like question of the week on here or something like that from a past show, but we gotta roll because we only have 45 minutes until we go back.
Well, let's rock.
Question number 1 comes from Michelle. Michelle says, is there often a honeymoon period with the Ecollar? Mine was doing great on drills in the house, and now he kind of tunes out and acts like a big pitiful baby.
Huh?
Like he was doing great, and now he's kind of like, I'm not so into the Ecollar. I'm kind of like a little bit.
Well, there's not a lot of, what's her name?
Michelle.
So there's not a lot of details there, Michelle. So that can be a little bit of a tough one. There's oftentimes a honeymoon period with dogs where dogs come into a home and things are great. And then they start to see where flexibility or rules can be pushed or where things can get lax, and they start to push against it, just like kids, just like anybody else. So you could be coming up against that, which would lead me to believe that maybe with the e-collar, maybe you've like done some like more focused training, and now maybe you're like getting a little softer. Maybe you're not holding the dog as accountable. Maybe you're a little more distracted by life. Maybe the correction levels aren't quite as effective, aren't quite as valuable, and so what your dog is quickly reading is like, hey, it's the honeymoon is over. I can kind of do what I want to do because I'm not being held accountable for whatever behavior. So with the limited amount of information that you're giving me, my suspicion is that your dog's getting away with more. Your dog is not being held as accountable for when he is getting away with things. You might be distracted, and you might just need to tighten things up a little bit. Just batten down the hatches. You'd be shocked what, like, and no pun intended, but you'd be shocked what with a little bit of significantly higher level correction for something that a dog is very clear on,
Yeah.
something that a dog knows very, very clearly what's right, what's wrong, what to do, what not to do, you might be very surprised what one or two high level corrections setting a tone for expectations might create in a more comprehensive fashion. You might find a dog that's like, I got it, and I am ready to toe the line. Not like spirit broken, not like down in the mouth or anything like that, but a dog who's like, I got it, I believe it, and I'm going to give you my best work.
Right.
So that would be my answer to, what's her name again?
I got
Is it
back.
Heather?
Michelle.
Michelle.
Yeah.
That would be my answer to you, Michelle. Hopefully,
yeah.
I could be totally off base and she could be like,
No,
but-
I would definitely say it's probably levels, because the dog may have been like, oh, okay, I'm learning, I've got this, and giving it to you, and then now it's like, it just doesn't sound that exciting anymore. This is like, I'm done with this. Just like you said, honeymoon period.
Yeah.
So you might just need to bring up levels correction-wise.
almost always when we get questions from clients that are struggling with things that they weren't struggling with, it's
Levels.
looseness in structure and levels not being effective.
Yep.
Almost always. Like,
Yeah.
not to oversimplify it, guys, but that's what we see.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let us
Let's
know.
move on.
Question number 2 comes from Jennifer.
Seat of your pants, baby.
Jennifer says, we rescued our dog from a shelter and have had her for 9 months. She's
Yeah.
3 to 4 years old and was supposed to be potty trained already. However, she consistently pees on the carpet in our house, even if we've recently taken her outside to go to the bathroom.
You know we don't do potty training questions.
She will go outside and still come inside and pee the moment we're not watching. We think her issues might be linked to what happened with her previous family. Their house, they locked her in the house, and the real
The
estate
other
agent
family?
found her. Yeah. So she has abandonment issues. She's clingy and needy, but she's getting better the longer she's with us. I think she's learning that we love her and we aren't going to leave her, but the smell of dog urine in my carpet is killing me. How can we train her not to pee on the carpet? Thanks for your time.
Potty training issues are always challenging because they involve so much diligence and
that one's
structure.
kind of interesting. It was like a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
type.
There's some other elements there. Jeremy, there's some other elements there that can that could be hard for us to kind of like ascertain without being like boots on the ground. But you know, we were just talking about in T3 about potty training stuff, like in a kind of a roundtable discussion. And what it always comes down to, like potty training is kind of like, yeah, it's complicated, but at the same time, it's really simple. And the simplicity comes from massive, massive structure and scheduling and not deviating from it and creating new patterns and not allowing the dog to make mistakes. And I know, like, from where I'm sitting, that's a lot easier to say than it is for you to do with your practical life and everything going on. I get it. But the dog should be crated when ever not supervised directly, and I mean directly. The dog should be tethered. Like, this is a huge pain in the rear, but if you want to save your carpets, the dog should be tethered on leash to you or somebody else in the house at all times to make sure that the dog is not wandering away, going behind a sofa, going anywhere else to pee, right? So think about it this way. It's almost like, so your dog comes out of the crate, dog is tethered, you take the dog out exactly like, as soon as the dog comes out of the crate, take the dog straight out to potty place, right? Make sure you go to the same spot, really like condition, like this is where we go, this is where we go, this is where we go. Be patient, give the dog the potty command, go potty. It's a magic phrase, by the way. Go potty, go potty. Eventually when that happens, good boy, good girl, and then you come back inside. Dog does not get freedom at that point. Most people mess up because they're like, cool, he's pottied or she's pottied, and then boom, we let him go. No, tether the dog to you. If you can't watch the dog, put the dog back in the crate. But if you're gonna have the dog out, dog is tethered to you and you will go around and do your stuff. And it's a huge pain in the rear, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to break old habits. And for a lot of dogs, going outside, if they've had like abandonment issues or if they've had any kind of weird psychological stuff, separating from the crew, from the pack, can be scary, can be hard. Some dogs don't even want to potty out in the backyard because they're so insecure and they're so nervous that they would rather pee in the house or poop in the house because it feels safer and they can actually function more comfortably there. So hard to say exactly what might be going on for you. I'm hoping it's not the latter. I'm hoping it's not that your dog's so anxious, freaked out, and overwhelmed that it can only feel confident to potty in the house. My suspicion is it's probably just a pattern that's been built up and was locked in the house, right?
Yeah.
So it just got reinforced. This is where I go, this is where I go. And then once it's in the carpet, that smell is like a siren song.
Yeah.
It just pulls them in and pulls them in.
Yeah. And just in general, because the dog has this sort of, you said, abandonment issues, so I'm assuming like separation anxiety and stuff like that, the more structure you can put in this dog's life, the better, especially at the start when you're creating this, you know, new life for the dog. Just the more like, okay, crate time and place command and stuff, like it all sounds like it's kind of rigid, but it is, because the structure is going to give that dog more comfort, because when it was locked in the house alone, it had no structure, no guidance, no nothing. So
yeah, and if there's any babying or spoiling going on because the dog has had a hard time, it's going to make everything worse.
That story is a tough one.
Yeah. I get it. I hear you, and it's not to
But I mean, it's tough. Like, that's one that, like, that pulls on the heartstrings, and that's really easy to start getting into the babying mode, but that's just going to undo this dog.
Because what will babying make people do?
Be soft and not structured.
That's the exact right answer.
Yes.
Yeah, she got it.
I got it.
Yep. So that's it, guys. So it's all about structure, being proactive, not allowing the dog to make mistakes. Think about it that way. If there's like, if you could put the dog like in a papoose kind of thing and like carry the dog around like at all times to make sure, not that I really want you to do that, but I like, it's that extreme. Like, don't let the dog make a mistake.
Yeah.
Hopefully the dog isn't so bad as far as that it'll soil in the crate, and then you just structure it, and you try and go out. Like I would go out, man, I'd probably go out like every hour with the dog and give it a chance to go potty. Like really be like
Super
overly,
diligent,
overly indulging that structure and that pattern until you can really get something solid. And the thing that people tend to do is they tend to move too quick. Dog's done okay, dog's potty, and they give the freedom, the mistake happens, and it just keeps snowballing and snowballing.
Right.
Cool. So
Cool.
Hope that helps. Tough one, but you just got to stick with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great. So we've got question number 3. This is from Laura.
Yeah.
Laura says, "Hi, Sean and Laura. Really like your new Q&A intro. Thanks for
you.
taking the time to make this great show."
It's a good Q&A. The intro's good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Liz.
My dog is doing well with his Ecollar training. I have him on a 20-foot long line. I'm starting to let him go 100 feet before I recall him. I train him at a local park that has a big open space. I'd like to know how to deal with the following if it should happen. The dog is 100 feet away, and all of a sudden, another dog is running towards him, and there's no way I could get there first to use a pet convincer or bear spray to get the other dog away. What would be my best course of action? Try to recall my dog, get to him ASAP, and use something to stop attack, not let him go that far, or something else? Thanks so much to take the time.
You want to answer that? Because you do all sorts of park
yeah.
stuff with your guys.
Laura, I do this all the time. I take my guys to a local park that has a lot of off-leash dogs. It's not a dog park, but I try to go at like low dog times, and people that bring their dogs off leash there are pretty, like the dogs are pretty stable, but there's definitely always the risk, and I don't want any random dog running up to my dogs. And in your case, it sounds like maybe you're concerned about a malicious dog running up to your dog. So the best thing that you can do for this is just make sure that your dog has amazing recall. So if you are, it sounds like you're practicing and you've got that great stuff going on, using other dogs or using distractions to proof that recall is what's going to be all about for you. So I will actually, like when I was first starting with my guys a lot, especially when I just got Cujo, take them out there and actually like we'd kind of get closer to dogs because I'd want to see what he would do. If he'd start to go that way, call him back. If he's still running, I'm going to dial up and make sure that I find a level that's significant enough to correct him so he comes a running back. So the recall is just really, for me, going to be your best thing. You're not going to beat a dog. You're not going to be able to run 100 feet faster than the dog is going to get to your dog. And it'd be really cool. It's just really cool to have that control with your dog to always pull him out of situations. So maybe you can find another way to distract your dog so that you are getting a time to be able to practice that before there's a malicious dog. So maybe your friend has a dog that's friendly. If your dog's friendly, you could do something where your friend puts her dog on a long line and lets her dog run, you know what I mean? Like comes out of nowhere, and then practice recall on your dog with a safe dog there. That's what I would do.
Yeah, and for me, whenever I take my dogs to the park or anything like that, I just try and keep a good wide berth around any dogs that I don't know. And I know that sounds easier said than done, but you can do it. You can keep eyes out. And when you see dogs that look like they're a little loosey-goosey, you're not sure what's cooking with them, just make sure you give a lot of space and then recall your dog back to you. If you keep, you're saying 100 yards, I would never let my dog be out at 100 yards if there was another dog that I wasn't sure about that was close enough that could get to my dog before I could get my dog back to me. Does that make sense strategy-wise? Do you know what I mean? So if I'm going to go full 100 yards with my dog, that means we're wide open. No one's around. That means he gets full range, but that means no one's close enough dog-wise that could like intercept before I can get him back. So
I think she's just concerned that maybe a rando. Like she's not looking. There's like
no dogs. No, like, I'm just saying like, but so much of this is about like
just keeping.
Yeah, it's about being so proactive that you make sure that you don't allow crappy things to go on, which they're not always. There's not always a perfect solution because you're talking about dog owners and dogs that you have no idea about. But that's kind of what I would be doing. Watch it. Don't let your dog get too far away from you when there's other dogs around. Recall him back. When you got a clear open space, let him go, do his thing. And like Laura said, get that recall rocking and rolling to where he turns on a dime, boom, 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 and it's right back to you. Yep. And then you can bear spray the other dog.
Unless he's a good dog. Okay, so we have question number 4. This is from Deana.
Hey, Deana.
Deana. It could be Deana. I'm not sure. Deana or Deana says, "Hi, Sean and Laura. Love the show.
Thanks.
Having breakfast and watching your show is my Saturday morning ritual." Oh, that's great.
How cool is that?
I hope this show is good enough for your Saturday morning. I'm sorry, Deana, if
it might
it's
just
not.
be ready for a snack.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, this sucks." Okay, we
They're in a car.
rescued our girl Maya, a GSD Husky mix, about a year ago.
Yep.
She's 2 years old, smart and obedient, but really insecure. She's fearful when meeting new dogs and people. One of our issues is her protectiveness around our building when coming in and out and running into our neighbors in the entryway or hallways. She'll start barking and lunging. I also bring him to work with me, and she gets protective. When anyone approaches my desk, she'll start barking and lunging. She's tied up and will do it to people she already knows. I purchased the Mini Educator 2 months ago and have worked on her heel and recall only. The Ecollar has worked tremendously on walks with her reactivity and her recall off-leash.
Cool.
How do I help with the protectiveness and help her build confidence and get balanced?
Okay, so we've got a great Ecollar place
Heel
command.
and recall.
So she's
I'm sorry. Yeah.
She's already done heel. She's done recall. So that's great that you've got that. What you want to do is put the next piece of the puzzle together. If you go to our YouTube channel and search "Learn to Train the Good Dog Way" place command, I'm pretty sure, and there's probably 2. There's a prong one.
Yeah,
and an
if you
e-collar
go
one.
to our playlist, free training on our YouTube channel, free training how-to videos, there's gonna be 2 place commands in there, so you can do the prong one and then the e-collar one.
Right. So once you get the e-collar one really nailed down, the cool thing is you can recall your dog to place, and then really proof your dog at place that your dog cannot move from place. And then what you can do, and what I would do in the interim if your dog is doing barky malarkey and protective stuff, is I'd back tie on place to something nice and heavy to where you don't ever have to worry about your dog breaking, getting away, or doing anything nefarious that you don't want to get into. But the moment that your dog, and this goes against, like, you can hear a lot of people tell you opposite things, like if you correct around people, it's going to make your dog more fearful or not like people more. No, your dog has already got protective issues going on. Your dog is already having negative feelings and issues about human beings coming close to you. Now it's time to stop that behavior. Now it's time to inhibit that behavior. Now it's time to diminish that behavior. So that said, your dog goes to place. You teach that nice and clearly. Back tie the dog to where the dog can't move. Your dog starts to growl when somebody comes in, whether it's in the house, at work, wherever. High level correction. No, pop. Let your dog know, I don't want that. I don't like it. I don't want to hear any more of that. What'll happen is a lot of people will tell you that's going to suppress the behavior. Awesome.
Great.
Let's suppress the behavior.
The barking and lunging GSD mix.
Yeah, well, I don't want to suppress the barking and lunging because it's such a great expression of his spirit. No, we want to get rid of that. But what they tell you is that by suppressing that, you're creating the ticking time bomb, and then it's going to come out whenever it's going to come out, and you won't know it because there'll be no predictable signals or no lead up. That's all BS. What's happening is you're inhibiting that choice and causing your dog to learn how to make new choices about those situations situations they're uncomfortable about. So your GSD is protective, but typically what we see with GSD is a GSD, right?
GSD Husky, yeah.
Husky. What we see with a ton of GSDs are this conflicted thing. And the conflicted thing is, I'm a GSD and I'm supposed to protect and be territorial, and I'm a GSD and I'm scared out of my pants, right? And we see both those things simultaneously. And so we see nervous, anxious, freaked out, stressed out dogs trying to do like this tough work of like being protective, doing the best they can. They're not prepared for it. They're not built for it. They're not ready for it. They're not genetically in a good space for it. So what they need is a strong leader, and they need strong rules about what's appropriate behavior. So growling, barking, staring, getting tense around people, high level correction, knock it off. So say no, keep calm, don't yell, don't raise your voice. No, make sure you find a level on the Ecollar that changes that behavior. What I guarantee 99% of people will do in this situation is underwhelm the dog.
Yeah.
If the dog corrects for recall at 20, for growling, they'll do like 15, 20, 25. No. Find a level your dog goes, whoa, sorry, I'm done with that. You want to see a state change. You don't want to just see your dog like go, and then stare. You want your dog to go, and then relax. And that's your job, is to find the level where your dog relaxes. And the whole point of having the dog tethered and back tied on place is that you can correct higher without your dog bumping off a place and like going towards you to recall or going towards the other person or anything like that. Creates a lot of safety and allows you a lot of latitude to start proofing that behavior and getting the dog into a good space. So the bottom line is, if you've got territorial monkey business silliness, which we get all the time with GSDs that come in or mixes, is you have to create structure, right? So your baseline structure.
It's so hard.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Hurts.
You're doing great, Bonnie.
Okay.
So your baseline structure is your recall, your heel, and your place command. So rock those, make sure those are ironclad, but then any kind of monkey business about growling or misbehaving, they get corrected high with a no, and make sure your dog cares about it enough to change his choices, change his behavior, and give you future better stuff in the future. Cool. Hope that helps.
Okay. So we have question number...
Don't be surprised if it fades away from you.
No,
and
that's
just goes to
fine.
me.
That's fine. Question number 5
Yep.
comes from Natasha. I think it's 5. Yeah. Natasha
Radovsky. She's
She
back.
She says, "Hi, Sean and Laura. I love the new format of Q&A and enjoy your
you.
shows so
Thank
much."
you. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. The question is about the proper use of my e-collar. We use the Boss. My dog Bruno, a 3-year-old lab, has been e-collar trained for over 2 years now, and I simply can't imagine living without this tool. We almost never have to use it at home, but we still use it on walks when he's off leash, still fighting poop eating habits. My question came after watching Britt's YouTube video on your channel, the Boss 800 setup.
Yep.
The video mentions that we should primarily be using the red continuous button, and I got confused. I thought that that was a low-level continuous button that's used only for teaching dogs new commands, and the higher-level black momentary button is used for corrections. We're way past teaching commands with Bruno. He's been taught fairly what to do and what not to do, so I only use e-collar for corrections now. Should I use momentary black or continuous red?
It's a great question.
Great
Natasha
question.
Radovsky.
And also gonna help you out with your poop eating question.
Yes, I think Laura's onto something. So we only use the red button on whether it's the Boss, whether it's on the 300 Educator, doesn't matter. We only use the red button, and that's because that's continuous, and it's continuous without boost. So the way we have the collar set up, on the front of it, it should say M and C, which means your black button is momentary, your red button is continuous, and they're both organic. There's no boost going on, right? Yeah. So you can use, like, so you're saying, well, shouldn't I use the black button, which is like Nick or momentary for the higher level corrections? You can use the red button for the same thing. It's a shade longer in the duration.
It's definitely longer in the duration. It's going to be, so the I think it's 1/25th of a second is the momentary button, the way you have it set up, and then if it's M and C, the momentary button is going to be 1/25th of a second, and then the continuous red button is going to be like 1 moment, like a beat, like not just like a.
No matter how quick you tap it, it's going to be a shade longer than the momentary button, which means that you'll probably be able to use slightly lower levels with a continuous button than you will with the momentary, right? Because the momentary is so quick that it's going to need a little bit higher level to be as valuable. The continuous button because it stays on just a shade longer is probably going to need a little bit less.
Yeah.
So what we do is we teach with the red button at very low levels, just like you've done, but then we also proof and go to corrections with the red button, which is just a quick tap at whatever level we want. And ergonomically, the way those collars are set up, Boss and the Mini Educator, is that the middle finger sits on the red button really nice, which allows you to roll with these two fingers ergonomically much more easily than if you're on the black button. So out of pure experience, that's going to be a much easier ergonomic handling mechanics kind of way of running the remote. Now that said, the other part of this is that say we've got poop eating, say we've got a dog running away, say we've got a dog about to get into any like nefarious activity we don't want. The red button also has the flexibility, because it's continuous, to be that quick tap, right? So you can do the boom, like boom, I said no, and I want you to come back here. Or if your dog is poop eating, you can roll up, press, and hold, which creates a very different sensation for your dog, which means that the pressure continues for as long as you hold up to 10 seconds. Now, if you're trying to create an emotional, psychological impact on your dog about a behavior, create an inhibition that you don't want any more of, let me just share with you that a quick tap on momentary, even high, is going to have a very different response than a press and hold for a few seconds on the continuous button at a fairly high level, right? So when we deal with poop eating, digging, anything like that we want gone, active God stuff, right? Or like counter surfing, it's going to be higher levels, and it's going to be press and hold for a couple seconds, because what you want is you want to really deeply imprint that on the dog's brain to where they say next time poop comes around, they're like, stuff's hot lava and I don't want anything to do with it. So
and
that's
even just a correction, like a light tap, even if it's not like for poop eating or for counter surfing, whatever, if you're having any sort of issues like on the walk, I mean, you guys have been doing this for 2 years, the chances are the nick, and the reason I know this is because I've accidentally put my collar on momentary every once in a while, and the nick just isn't enough to like be convincing for the dog.
It's so quick.
Yeah, it's so quick. So no matter how long you hold that button, it's going to be 1/25th a second. So it's cool. Even so, for the poop eating, you're going to press and hold a little bit, but even for like the walk, if there's something going on, that continuous button, just pressing it is going to give you something more substantial.
Yeah, and then obviously the flexibility of longer hold, right? So
or dialing up.
Dialing up. Yeah, and that's another thing we didn't even talk about, right? So do you want to mention that real quick?
Yeah. So if you're,
say about like a running away,
right? Press and hold on that red button when it's set up for continuous. Press and hold and dial up at the same time. It almost creates like a leash on the dog. You'll actually see dogs like go, okay, right? I've done it before when I'm recalling like Cujo or Hercules, my 2 dogs, away from dogs that's something they really want to go after. Yeah. You just press and hold and you dial up at the same time. And it almost creates like a lasso, if you will. Yeah. So,
but that's the flexibility of that continuous button that you can dial up, down while holding the button and really change the pressure sensation. So there's a ton of flexibility. So I'd really encourage you to take a look at that and start messing with it and see what you get. And that way you can just go to one button, ergonomically set up better, more flexibility, more power in the correction, and then for poop eating, press hold, or running away, press hold. I think you'll find a lot better stuff with that.
Definitely.
Thank you, Natasha.
You're awesome, Natasha. I'm so glad you've found
so glad you're back.
Great stuff.
We're so glad you're back.
You. Okay, that's awesome. So we just got interrupted by something that shouldn't have happened.
Phone call in Anaheim?
Alhambra.
Alhambra? I was going to say maybe it's Mickey Mouse gone.
Could have been.
We got free passes.
Question number 6 comes from Richard Chan.
I like the hat, Richard. We digging this?
Oh yeah, the hat's really nice.
Thanks.
Richard says, hi Sean and Laura, I'm wondering if you have used any other e-collars such as Dogtra, and do you think they have a different stim pattern that the dog can discern? Thanks a lot.
Richard, right?
Yes.
Richard Chan. Okay, so good question, Richard. We've used Dogtra a ton, right? Back in the olden days, like 20, 30 years ago when we were first starting out.
Or just 2 years ago.
Or just, yeah, a few years ago. We used Dogtra pretty much primarily as our only collar. We used the IQ a ton. We used the 280, but we used the IQ on probably like 80-90% of dogs, right? And we really like them. The IQ is great because it's so easy to use for owners. It's just one of the most easily ergonomically well set up, and easily the mechanics are just so easily not handled, but
It's
utilized. So we really like that. The 280 has been a standard, like an industry standard for a long time, as far as like a low to medium high quality collar with good distance. Problems where we started to see some issues with consistency. We started to have some problems with some of the product. We started to have problems with customer service. So that really kind of like put a hitch in things, because we're standing behind these products and selling them to customers, and then having like the IQ like not giving consistent reads, sometimes going too high, things that were pretty disconcerting for us. So, and at that same time out came Ecollar Technologies with like banging customer service, and they were so about like taking care of any of our needs, and they were like asking questions. What do you guys want? What do you want in your remote? What do you want? You know what I mean? They were like all about like connected to the consumer, which was us. And as far as I know, the Ecollar Technologies does use somewhat of a different e-collar ways.
Pattern.
It's blunt stimulation, and I'm not super savvy on all of the tech stuff behind it, but I know that it's supposed to be a smoother, softer, more palatable stimulation wavelength, or whatever you might call it. I know things like the old Tritronics were specifically not that way. They were supposed to be like very, very hard, sharp wavelengths to where they like got dogs' attention at the highest level. So when people want to use like more aversive collars, the Tritronics tend to get that kind of usage. They were used for gun dogs and really hard dogs. And I think Dogtra and Ecollar Technologies were geared more towards like softer pet dogs. Not that you can't use Tritronics, because you can, but we don't use them. We find them to be much more geared towards like working dogs and things like that. I don't like the way they roll, a lot of like inflexibility issues. So yes, we've used Dogtra. The word on the street, I think that I've heard, is that they're improving some things. They're working on trying to shore some of that stuff up.
They're great collars. We just have found a lot of success with Ecollar. We love the customer service, and clients love the kind of simplicity of the collars. So Dogtra's great,
Yeah, and if they're coming, if you've got a product from Dogtra and you like it, then that's all that matters. I would love for Dogtra to be putting out really high quality stuff, because competition's always good for the market. So let's check it out. If you've got a Dogtra thing, let us know how it goes. Let us know what you think about it. Like I said, we used them forever. So right now we've moved into Ecollar Tech, and that's kind of where we're at. And we haven't had a reason to change, because boy, do they take good care of us and our clients. Really at a super high level. So that's
and
it.
Really consistent collars and
and they look like happy little yellow smiley faces.
Okay, question number 7.
Yep.
This comes from Stacy. Stacy says, love the new format.
Thanks, Stacy.
More questions with our new e-collar training.
Okay.
Yesterday, we took our Shep Dobie mix Jovi out for her first ever e-collar experience. We found her number indoors in a very calm environment around 10 to 11. We started doing recall with the e-collar when she was on a prong in a parking lot in a local park. She was whining and shaking with anxiety, so we decided to get forward motion to proceed with the walk. I ended up on a number 63 before I was getting her to respond to the pressure, but had a total reactivity outburst at passing dogs at that level. I then worked her in a less stimulating area with only needing 20 for recall, sits, fast, slow walking. Should we hold off on the walks until we're more established with lower pressures on inside work? And should we always start at the 10 level with each session of training and only move up if needed? I'm concerned with her becoming desensitized given her history with our e-collar fence. Oh, okay. That's right. You had an e-collar fence. Okay. Thanks so much.
That's kind of a challenging one.
Yeah.
That's one of those dogs I'd really like to have my hands on and,
Yeah.
and work with and try and give you some direct feedback, because there's so many possible nuances and ins and outs here that could be problematic. So I'd want to be always in a quiet space when you're first starting training. Always, always, always. Don't go anywhere where it's going to be hard for the dog. Sound like they're in a parking lot, something like that. You don't want to be around any other dogs. You can even teach recall inside the house. Our new DVD teaches all Ecollar stuff inside the house initially, so it's nice and quiet. So one of the things you could do strategy-wise, if you're finding you're having anxiety issues and overwhelm for your dog, is teach your dog Ecollar place, and then start teaching your dog Ecollar recall off of place, and then you can build from that to Ecollar place from one spot to the next place and back and forth, and start building like a real kind of like fancy recall. That's one way you can go about it, by kind of bypassing the whole external or exterior overstimulation issues, something like that. If your dog's highly reactive to dogs and she gets a whiff of any dog, you're going to really struggle with your levels. The fact that you had to go to 60 is pretty damn high for a dog that was working at like 10 or something like that. Yeah, that's pretty darn high. I'd be really concerned about making sure that your contact is good, that your contact didn't change from the beginning. A lot of times you can put an e-collar on a dog, and in the first few minutes, because they'll stretch their necks out, it can be really snug and you get great contact. And then a few minutes later, the dog relaxes, and then all of a sudden the e-collar's loose and that 10 goes away. And now to try and get the similar response, you have to roll up to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 to get a response out of the dog, because he's getting marginal contact. So that's one thing to check. I would definitely look for quieter environments. Just do small little recalls. You can do 6-foot recalls. Don't even do long line stuff, right? Just do a 6-footer. If you're going to be outside, put the dog into a sit. If the dog will wander away from you, it's easy. Then you can just let him wander away. Press the button, come, guide them in gently. Off the button when they start coming towards you. Reward. If the dog won't stay away from you, then teach the dog sit, proof a little bit of an e-collar sit, and then get behind the dog and start recalling the dog out of the sit to you. That would be an approach. But the levels of having to be at 60 concern me. I would definitely...
It's too fast. I think your initial thought of like, should we get more foundation inside? I think that's absolutely a great instinct. I think getting your dog more proofed inside, just with everything. If you said that you took her outside and there was like an anxiety shaking mess, even like without working, like I think it's definitely something that we need to work more foundation on.
Right, which is exactly why we did our whole Ecollar DVD, starting in the house, because so much outside stuff just overstimulates dogs, and it becomes, especially for dog owners who don't have a million years of experience, it can be a really challenging dynamic to try and find, how do I get my dog to like respond and be comfortable and everything like that. So what I would do is I'd take a page out of our book. I would teach Ecollar place inside the house, get that really solid, and then start teaching recall off of place, and then start transferring it to another place command, and then start expanding that distance, getting that really rocking and rolling. Once you get your dog really solid with that, then you can start working on e-collar heel, things like that. Make sure you get plenty of space around dogs. If your dog's reactive, do not take your dog out and try and go like thread the needle around other dogs. Bad news bears. Give yourself plenty of space, and then also make sure you do the threshold exercise. If you walk up and you're allowing your dog to kind of like already be like in a nutty, pushy mode before you get out the front door, your goose is kind of cooked. And if you're not asking for an immaculate heel, the immaculate heel is your dog's head is parallel with your hip and does not move, does not sniff, does not pee, does not target other dogs. If you're not getting that, then you're really going to struggle when you see other dogs, because that's your leverage. Those are all leverage points. Those aren't like dog training like laws or rules. Those are leverage points to help when you do see a dog, that your dog's in a better state of mind. So hopefully all those tips, tools, helps, guidance help you out, get you into a better space.
To be honest, I would think that I would love if you could find a balance trainer for your dog if you're having a ton of issue like that. Just because there might be something that is worth a little bit of a higher level,
Right, a little bit more hands-on stuff. Where are they located?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always email us and we can try and hook you up with the trainer.
They're on our website. There's a links for trainer referrals.
Right.
So
www.thegooddog.net.
Yeah.
And what tab's it under?
just under like links or something like that.
Links.
You'll
Cool.
find it.
Like sausage links.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, guys. So question number 8. We have Melanie Scannell. Melanie says, "Hi
Melanie's
guys."
been around a long time, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Goes way back.
Yeah, way back. Hey guys, I have a threshold exercise question. I understand how to do the exercise preceding a walk, but my question relates to how the dog should behave at the closed door before being released into the fenced-in backyard or for potty breaks or free time. I do actually try to wait for an auto sit and a respectful look before releasing him with a break command into the backyard. So I guess my question really is, should the threshold exercise be in place for this, or does the threshold mainly pertain to leaving the house or yard for walks? Thanks, I'm loving the new Ecollar DVD download and PDF.
Yeah.
Great, yay!
So that's an awesome question, and a question I like. I don't know if you want to jump into it, or do you want me to jump into it?
You jump into it.
Okay.
So
So she's basically talking about like when you're doing like a walking kind of like threshold, but like say I'm gonna let the guys out out the sliding glass door into the backyard, correct?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Just
I got it.
a kind of a more loose, like a break
Right, it's like
situation.
time to go out and potty time, something like that. So yeah, that's a great question, Melanie, Miss Scannell, and I definitely ask the dogs to give me a respectful thing at those thresholds, right? So basically look for any time your dog is intense, excited, overstimulated, those are moments you want to go after to try and work on cultivating impulse control, right? So think of it less as like kind of black and white rules and think about it more about your personal dogs, and where do I find escalation, intensity, impulse control issues, getting all kind of like, worked up, that kind of stuff. And typically when dogs know they're going to go out in the backyard or do something like that, you'll find that to be the case. So what I'll do is, obviously when we're going out on walks, we do exactly what you're talking about, which is going to be prong or e-collar threshold corrections for any dog that tries to move past us. So almost lost you. Any dog that tries to move past us going out the threshold, right? Quick tap. No, it's a default. I don't say anything. Dog should know better. Now, when it comes to like letting dogs at our place, like I'm going to say they're done training. We're going to let them out. They're going to come out through the bedroom, out through the sliding glass door, and go out into the yard for playtime or supervised like potty time or just free time, whatever it is. As soon as they come to that sliding glass door, they want to pile up, right? And whether I've got one dog or I've got a handful of dogs, they want to pile up, and all they want to do is like, let me out first, let me out first, let me out first, right? It happens there. It happens in the kennel if I'm letting them out for potty break. Doesn't matter. So trick here is dogs on e-collar, correct?
I believe. I actually don't know. It doesn't say. Just threshold exercise.
Okay. So challenging if not on e-collar. If on e-collar, it's really, really easy to fix.
Now she's doing the e-collar, so maybe. Yeah, she's doing the Ecollar download in PDF.
Oh, that's right. Cool. So you're halfway home there. So what I do is like I'll walk up, like I'm seeing it already in my mind because it's happened a million times. I walk up to the sliding glass door. There's the client dog I'm working with. It's got its nose against the door and it's trying to like, let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out. So what I do is I walk up right next to the dog. I roll up on the e-collar, pop, and I just tap. And now if you want to add a word to it, you want to add back, I'm not big on like millions of commands, right? So I just will give a tap and the dog knows very quickly, oh crap, I shouldn't be crowding this space, and the dog will back up. If the dog doesn't back up, I roll up again, tap the button, and like 99.99999% of the time, the dog is going to go back up. And then what I do is I grab the sliding glass door and I open it a crack. And if I see that dog make a move for that crack, he can't get out. So he's already stuck. I've already got the drop on him. But if he tries to make a move, I tap again, right? So at this point, the dog may lay down. The dog may just back up. Sure, do whatever you want.
Whatever it is.
But don't you rush out that door. Now, if you want to get fancy pants and you want to like put the dog into a sit or you want to put the dog into a down, that's totally up to you. But there is, in my opinion, a different a different flavor or a different response or a different impact on a dog when they're not given a command specifically, but they're asked to give a respectful kind of distance where they almost like, I don't know if I'm getting this across clear, but they have to monitor their own space in correlation. In correlation with a barrier, right? But if I tell them down, it's a piece of cake. Like they're like, okay, I've done down 1,000,000 times, and people say, well, why don't you want to make it easy? Because I want the dogs thinking. I want the dogs to be courteous on their own, not just being spoon-fed, handheld, that kind of stuff. So, short answer for your thing: walk up to whatever your door is. Dog gets in front of you and crowds it. You walk up right next to him. Now you can recall him away, but that's not what I would do. I'd walk up right next to the dog. Pop at a nice firm level. The dog should move away. If he doesn't, I roll up again. Pop. The dog should move away. Then slightly open the door. Any kind of action towards it. Pop again. You should be able to get that door all the way open, and that dog should be like, hey, is it time for me to go out? And then once you get that courteous moment, you give the release command and let the dog go do its thing.
Bang. We've only got 5 minutes, so we're going to answer these last 2 questions.
Okay.
This question number 9 is from Janine Churchwell. Janine, doesn't that hurt?
Yeah, the selfie stick is
it's a pain.
just send me to the hospital.
Janine says, when is your Best of the Blogs book coming out? What price point do you think it'll be? And will it be in bookstores or just through your website? And I'll
Janine, I love this question. I love it.
We got to answer it speedy, fast.
So this is the
but
let you answer.
The Best of Blogs book is going to be one of our first book. It's also going to be blogs and the TGD tips that Sean does and like a couple other things. It's I'm going to say like summer, end of summer. I don't want anyone quoting me on that. If you quote me on it, I'll be mad.
January?
Yeah. It's like 6, 7 months.
That's a long ways away. I could be dead by then.
Yeah, you could be. No. So that is probably what I'm going to say. Just like all told.
She's the cautious
No, it takes
timeliner.
a long time. Yeah,
I think that's a great title, the cautious timeliner.
The cautious timeliner. It'll probably be around $30 to $40, and it'll probably just be available on our website since we'll be self-publishing.
Yeah, and unless Barnes & Nobles makes a big move for us or anybody else, or Amazon's like, we gotta have this book.
Well, Amazon we could do, but we'll probably just do it through our website.
Right. And the whole goal, I know we got to go quick, but the whole goal is for this to be like a book that doesn't exist currently as far as the psychology of the dog and the owner and how owners can best navigate, negotiate, and make sure they do their very best by their dogs by understanding what's really cooking with their dogs. Yeah. So we've got a couple really awesome people helping us go through them, some extended TGD team. Thank you guys, Joanne and Sabina, and we're looking forward to putting it all together. Who knows, maybe it'll be about before summer, I don't know.
It won't be. All right. Love you guys. Question number 10. This is from Chelsea Brochu on Instagram.
Hey, Chelsea.
Or Chels Brochu.
I think she's new.
I think she might have asked something before.
Okay.
But it's kind of long, so I'm going to go through it. Hey, Sean and Laura. I have a 7-year-old Jack Russell. She was an attack first, bite to the bone dog before, anxious mess. Everything was stressful. She'd scream and run, and everyone I talked to recommended euthanasia. I struggled with her for a couple years until finding your YouTube in 2013.
Wow.
Thank you. And I've been working with her using your foundation DVD since it came out.
Wow.
And she has a great understanding of all the foundation training. She's great on walks, super respectful, maybe gives a quiet growl when she sees a dog coming, but is quickly quiet when corrected. 1,000 times better when meeting new people. She's a great dog.
The DVD works. Look at that.
Cool. But the thing I can't seem to get past is her being anxious. She's anxious in her kennel anytime she's in the vehicle, and when my husband comes in the door. So she like whines, pants, circles, shaking, licking walls. She doesn't break place and my husband ignores her, and I haven't yet been successful using an e-collar. Even at the lowest setting, it throws her into a panic state. I've been consistent as possible with the foundation work, hoping that if I followed it, her anxiety would go away. I hear you say it every time. Any ideas on how to get over her anxiety? Thanks in advance. Can't wait for the new DVD. It's out. It's streaming right now. It's not, DVD isn't out, but the actual streaming is if you want to do Ecollar from the very start.
DVD will be out real soon.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure when she says that, you say this all the time. I'm not
just
sure.
like, I'm sure she's done foundation and duration and all that stuff, and she's
results.
still not getting the anxiety. Here, let me take a look.
You're gonna hold it? Oh, thank you.
We're all gonna die.
Okay, so this is a tough one because it sounds like you're doing a lot of great work. Here's the just kind of the reality, which can be a challenging reality to wrap your head around, is that a lot of dogs just come with baggage. They just come with anxiety, just like human beings, right? So we get dogs that come in where we give them the first class treatment. I mean, they might be there for 3 weeks and we do every single thing in our power, and they're still struggling with anxiety. They're still panting more than they should be. They're still shaking. They're doing all sorts of things that aren't of a relaxed nature. And even with all of our experience and all of our resources and all of our tools and all of our brainstorming as a collective, we still send dogs home that are not perfect because they came genetically, especially with purebred dogs. A lot of them come genetically, I don't want to say compromised, but with some extra baggage. So
and you definitely got that, because your dog is 1,000 times better, but you still got anxiety. So that
right. And Jack Russells aren't known for their like, hi, what are you doing? Maybe I'll see you next week. They're amped up, ready to go, like juiced up guys. And so like, it's not surprising that they're anxious. This is one of those cases where I'd say, like, along with the duration work, along with all the accountability, along with all the foundation work, anything you can do to like really find this dog some serious outlet for work would be really, really good for him. Whether that's doing like scent work around the house, hiding things for him, whether that's like him, you know, like you doing bike rides and like he's leashed up and you get to take him for long bike rides, whether it's treadmill. This is the kind of dog that can benefit from more of a exercise release. More of an exercise release in conjunction with all the other good stuff you're doing. So I would get really creative, like, how can I put this, because these guys are built to work, right? I mean, if you had a place for him to go hunt and do his thing, he'd probably be less anxious, but it's real life, right? So I would get creative. I know we got to run, but I'd get creative with anything you can do to try and find ways to put him to work. Get creative. Go on Google, search. You can find lots of different things. Go on some Jack Russell places. They'll give you ideas of like what you can do for him. And you don't usually hear me say like give dog puzzles and hide food and do things like that. But this guy really may need some work stuff. Treadmill, running, behind the bike, stuff like that. Were you going to say something?
We got to get out of here. But I think the thing that I want to say, Chelsea, more than anything is Ecollar. I don't know what Ecollar you're using at the first level. So you could have maybe not an educator and that first level is too hot for him. I don't know what Ecollar you're using. So if you want to get our DVD, or if you want to use our free videos on our website or on our YouTube channel, you can do Ecollar training, but make sure you get a collar that has 1 to 100 levels, like an educator mini.
A lot of variabilities and variability in
because likely your dog with JRT at level 1 on an educator isn't going to be doing that. But I'm worried that maybe you have a collar with like 8 levels, and level 1 is like a level 15 on the educator.
And is she struggling with like correcting him in the crate?
No, she hasn't done any Ecollar yet.
Nothing.
She's
at all.
only tried. She's tried it, but the first level makes her dog mess.
Oh, okay.
So I think
I missed that part. Yeah. So you're right on the money then. So definitely go with some kind of a collar. Go just get the Ecollar Technologies. If you've got 1 to 7 or 1 to 15 or 1 to 21 levels, it's not going to work
for your dog.
It's not going to work. It's going to be too much, too hot, and you're not going to be able to get him into a comfortable space. You need those variables. You need that 1 through 100 so you can find the sweet spot for your dog.
And do all your foundation, same stuff that you've done great on prong. Just wait till you lay your Ecollar on top of it. You're going to be so excited.
I would highly, and you don't hear us like, hey, buy our DVD, but I would highly recommend that with what you've got and the work you've done with the foundation on the prong, I would highly recommend you get the streaming video and get that Ecollar that we recommend in it, the 300 mini educator, and start putting those pieces together, because we would never ever try and work a highly anxious dog with just leash and prong and try and get the best stuff, because we know we wouldn't get the best stuff. So leash and prong is awesome, but the Ecollar is going to take you to a whole nother level. So
let us know how it goes.
Thank
you.
So
We
Good
gotta
luck.
roll.
We got to roll. Everybody's waiting for us. We
Yes.
love you guys. Thank you so much for
Thanks
being
for
patient
hanging.
for us.
Yep.
I know it's a different than our regular studio. We don't have our Indian food. There's no CC.
No CC.
But CC will be back next week, hopefully. Or no,
Not
he won't
next
be.
week.
You'll be in New Orleans. So
We gotta go.
Anyways,
Love you guys.
See you guys.
Bye. How's that cappuccino?